Can't tell why my drops aren't playing or if they are, so we're just going to talk anyways. All right, gentlemen. Ozark Season 4. First thoughts, Brick.
I love this series. I think Jason Bateman is awesome. I love his relationship that he has with his entire family, and like also Ruth. I think that's the biggest relationship that I love the most between Ruth and Jason Bateman. Um, it's just it gives you the Chicago spotlight every once in a while. It shows you, gives you good Chicago skylines and stuff. So that I'm a sucker for that. Again, like the Shameless. That was the only reason I watched that show. But I just also like the cartel being added in this a little more aggressively in this season, as like previously the third season ends with them going to meet the cartel mob boss for the first time, and this season had a lot more of them kind of they're coming to the conclusion of it all, so everything's kind of getting unraveled and
Got to raise the stakes.
Exactly. They're raising the stakes by having Javi, the new nephew who's power hungry for the cartel, who has no remorse. But I also love that like they have great manners, and it's such a weird kind of juxtaposition because they have great manners, but they're fucking ruthless. And then they have the hillbillies from the Ozarks that are like terrible manners, but they actually have like some sort of feelings and compassion for people in general. So it's like a weird juxtaposition that they play, and I really like all the characters, and I think they did a fucking fantastic job, and I can't wait for this part 2 of season 4 to be released.
I think that's a bullshit move by Netflix too, by the way.
I
don't
agree.
know. The only way that it's not a bullshit move is if this is only halfway through the season. If they're going to do what they did the last 2 seasons and ended at 10, then this is a bullshit move. What they did was release 7. So you've got effectively 7 hours of this, right? So
that's what you have to assume. You have to assume they're going to be doing this is a 14 episode, like, because it's going to be the finale of the whole entire series. And that's what Breaking Bad did. Breaking Bad broke it down into 2 different parts because they added, it was more, they couldn't fit everything they needed to in 10 episodes to make it just like, I felt like they didn't want to rush it because there was so much going on and so many different moving parts.
Yeah.
But if you're right and it's only 10 episodes, that is fucking trash. I don't think that would actually make me furious when it releases and we only have 3 episodes to watch. It could be very disappointing.
So
but I don't think that's the case.
Full disclosure, I finished this 4th season of Ozark like minutes before we started broadcasting, so I have not had time to do the proper research on like what's coming next and all that shit. But that said, I have openly said in the past that I did not like Ozark until season 3. So I will say that I think honestly it's what we talked about. Brick is raising the stakes, and they didn't raise the stakes enough for me until season 3, and now it's sufficiently staked, or whatever you want to call it. I'm mixed on the new characters that they introduce. I'm confused on why some characters have disappeared altogether.
Like who?
Well, 3 makes an appearance at the end, but he was just gone.
Right.
I don't know.
Like the Langmore, the other Langmore that's still alive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth seems to only care about Wyatt, I guess.
Yeah, and they use the mob when it kind of works for the story, and then they just forget about him when it doesn't. And I don't know. I'm still always lukewarm on this. I think I'm just watching this to finish it.
Really? But you didn't like this season specifically.
I have a really difficult time explaining my relationship with this show because I like Jason Bateman and I like the work that he does in this, but I also recognize that 70% of the acting that he does is looking in different directions and looking pensive while music plays in the background and everything is tinted blue. Well, so Ruth, in the end, this is a show that I watch at 1.5 times speed.
I don't think you're doing it justice. It doesn't. The sound of the score makes it eerie and builds a lot of tension. I just don't. I think you didn't do it justice by doing it.
I don't like the mood that they set in this show. Why is it that? Who do you know that cleans their kitchen in the fucking dark? They don't even turn the lights on when they're at home. Why is everything in this show like you can still have a depressing mood without everything just being in the dark? Because that just feels cheap or like cutting corners, I guess. I don't know.
That's not something that I really noticed. I didn't really pay attention to like their cleaning habits of
just an
how
opinion.
much light is emitted.
If I'm watching this in a room that's not well lit and I can't see what's going on because they won't turn any fucking lights on in the TV show, it's stupid. It's final season of Game of Thrones all over again.
I guess I didn't really watch it during the day. I guess I watched it later at night where that wasn't really an issue, and I guess I just have a good
This
TV.
is a really stupid nitpicky argument, so I'll just keep going.
It is.
I didn't care about some of the characters they introduced. The PI don't give a shit about. I mean, he better have some sort of payoff. I think that
I don't know. I thought that it just adds another little wrinkle into like, all right, now we got to fucking deal with this guy who's like snooping around about the Helen investigation. Like that's still open ended, and
you got to raise the stakes. Like I get it. It just feels like a lazy way to raise the stake. I keep saying that, but adding a character out of nowhere is kind of a Deus Ex Machina there too. And obviously we're not at the climax of the story yet, so maybe he'll play in more. I don't know. We'll see. That's part of the problem with introducing somebody mid-season and then cutting off and saying, oh, we'll do season 4 part 2. So right. I don't know. We'll see. It remains to be seen. I have a very complicated relationship with this show, so I'm going to shut up and let Mark talk about it.
Yeah, I actually think this was the best season. Considering the fact of how it left off, because this is part 1, so it's going to leave us with a big cliffhanger. And I looked at some of the articles that came out. It sounds like they're not going to release part 2. And Jason Bateman was on some talk show and said it's going to come kind of soon, is what he said. But they're not. It sounds like they're not going to release it. They're not going to release it till after May because of awards. So what they're trying to do is get this to be an
Double
Emmy
dip.
qualifier, and then they're going to get part 2 to be to get some Emmy votes or whatever.
Okay, so it's an
recognition
Emmy grab. Ugh.
That's what they're saying. So everyone's basically like it's going to come at between June and December of this year. So we're going to have to wait a little while. But even so, I thought by throughout the whole season, the whole thing is about covering your ass, covering your tracks, and everyone is so paranoid. So I kind of attribute all their weird. You might be looking too far into it, but the way I would explain that is they're just so paranoid about what's going on that, like, even Jason Bateman, when one of the guys from the cartel shows up, he doesn't question him at all. He's like, maybe why are you here? But wherever they want him to go, he just goes. He's like, I'm not doing this here. So they're really trying to play it smart, and that's what I like about this show is they're always trying to cover their ass in some way or another.
And Marty is a smart character, and you gotta I love the way that he handles some of the situations that he's just like thrust into between the cartel itself and between what Wendy fucking Bird is doing, trying to ruin the family.
She's the polar opposite of him.
I know, and it's so frustrating. That's the other part of it, is the relationships between Wendy that is so like stressful between her and Marty, between her and Ruth, between her and Darlene Snell, between her and Jonah was the big one this whole season. I hated Jonah too. Jonah's being a dumb fucking teenage kid.
I like Jonah,
right?
Yeah, I'm kind of fine with Jonah.
I still just didn't like the way they both handled it. Was just so poorly. But I also liked how Jason Bateman was also handling his relationship with his son versus Wendy Bird throughout that whole 6th episode where they kind of we'll get into spoilers later.
That's what I was going to talk about is cognitive dissonance that they instill on like Wendy Bird. Mm-hmm. For her to think like she gets mad when Marty is proud that their son knows how to launder money. And she gets so pissed, and I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck did you expect?
You put him in a crime family, he's going to figure out how to do the crime.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially when you open it up and expose himself to like all of the cartel involved and all the murders and all this other shit. Just like you can't hide it, but you can't expect him to be like, yeah, I'm just going to watch cartoons now.
And I just remember there was a turning point for Jonah from me, and it was when he gets a call from his grandpa, and his grandpa talks about it like, you sound different, and he goes, yeah, my voice changed, and they directly reference that this kid had hit puberty while they were in between filming this show. I love that they made that reference. Fucking lean into it.
I like Jonah because he calls out Wendy on her just being a fucking extremely selfish person, even though everyone knows it. I mean, Jason Bateman knows it. Her husband, the daughter knows it, but he's really the only one that calls her out on it and knows. Even though throughout the whole show she's like, "This is all for family. It's bullshit." You could just tell like she's trying to play it just to save her ass too, specifically. And I don't really think she cares about Marty.
She likes the power.
She cares
about
her.
Her foundation. She's doing her foundation. She's whipping these congressmen with all these different like political tools, and she's playing the game, and she's liking it, I think.
All right, last thing before we rate this. Who's your favorite character?
Ruth.
Yeah.
She's awesome. The way she talks, some of the things that she says, she calls like Wendy a wolf bitch in season 3. She's like, what the fuck? I just love. What are you gonna do? Kill me, you wolf bitch? I love Ruth. She's crazy and she means well, and I like her relationship with Marty. Marty's number 2 on my list.
I don't know about that. I definitely agree with Ruth, though. She is by far the best. She's the most not relatable. She's the one who you can most root for to succeed, because everyone else, she is the least of all of them, the least piece of shit.
Right. Mark, what do you think?
I would say from the season standpoint, it's got to be Javi, from somebody that brought the most to this season, intensified everything, and was just fucking an unhinged character that brought so much fear into their lives. I would have to say Javi, but from a series perspective, I love Ruth.
Everybody loves Ruth. Ruth is fantastic.
I don't know if I can get on board with Javi. He's just like this chaotic evil, come in and do whatever the fuck I want.
He's a power hungry cartel guy who's grown up in the cartel.
But that's not how you, like, the other guy didn't get to run the cartel by being that way.
He's extremely calculated, but I also like that.
I guess that's true. He doesn't run the cartel that way currently, but yes, that's true.
Because he's grown up and he's got a family, and I mean, he's still. I mean, he murdered Helen like right in front of the birds at the end of season 3, where it's just like they blew her fucking brains out. Right, he's cold.
Yeah,
he's running the cartel. There's no way he's been soft running the cartel throughout. You got to assume these are things that the audience can just assume is like, this guy's already a psycho. But yeah, they may have good manners, but they're also just savages when it comes down to it. The
other thing I got to say about that, though, is that cartel leaders don't do their own dirty work. They send people to go do it.
Right, and Javi is not the cartel leader just yet.
If he's more than a grunt in the cartel, he's not going to. It doesn't matter. Mark, rate it.
I'm going to say see it. I love this season.
See it for me.
I'm in between save it and see it. So I think
it's because you watched it at 1.5 times. That doesn't.
No, because I started it. I tried to start it at regular speed, and then I found it boring, so I sped it up, and it got better. You don't get to tell me if I liked it or not, okay? Like these are opinions. So
is it a save it?
Yeah, now I'm going to say save it just to piss Brick off.
Pure spite.
Good. All right. I'm going to put up a sign for spoilers now. And if you're watching the stream, you'll notice that it just got a lot prettier here. But yeah, what do you want to talk about here? From here on out, we're going to talk about spoilers for the entire series, specifically season 4, but obviously that would lean back on things that have happened in prior seasons. So if you don't want to know, tune out now, check the show notes. We'll be back shortly. I was really satisfied with the way this season ended.
Specifically because of Darlene. Right?
Yes.
Oh, and Wyatt getting his fucking head blown in.
And to my point, why Javi is the best, is the greatest asset of the whole season. He's such an inconvenience. Like you mentioned, the private investigator being an inconvenience to them. He is just like, whenever they have to deal with something, it's like Javi's waiting on the dock, just like, get in the boat. Like,
just up their ass.
And Marty's like, fuck. All right, cool. What now?
But all they've done is replace one character who does that with another, because that's what Darlene was. She just whips out, she's the first person to whip out a shotgun and just blow somebody away.
Right. But Darlene lost a little bit of that like power, I feel, with her not she wasn't working with the KC mob anymore. It was really just her by herself at that point, and she was just being a crazy person. Now Javi
She
has
always
the whole
was.
exactly, but now Javi, that unhinged character that raised the stakes, has the entire backing of the entire cartel behind him, and he shows no remorse throughout the entire show, killing people. He just like he's fucking putting literally creamer in coffee, nothing, no emotion at all, and he's just like an absolute savage psycho.
I think that typically makes a stupid character.
Well, from growing up in a cartel family, I just have these things that like, that's just
As
what
someone
you're
who
gonna be.
grew up in a cartel family myself,
Right, but I mean, you assume if the cartel is as savage as they are from stories that you
Sure,
hear from
of
just
course.
in general, you just got to assume that from the audience perspective. So that's why I felt like it was still believable, because there are sociopaths out there.
did you guys like
called Wyatt.
Darlene as the sociopath before this season though? Like, was
Yeah,
she a good villain? I guess is the question I'm asking.
Yeah, she was old and grungy, and
Okay.
she always fucking had issues like
I-
with the birds that just
I still get really
Yeah.
uncomfortable every time she kisses Wyatt.
What I didn't like about her is she wasn't calculated at all. She was very emotional in everything she did, which
Right.
was like you kind of started predicting stuff when she would get worked up and something would happen where she started getting really emotional for her personal reasons. Then you're like, okay, she's gonna pull out her shotgun and fucking shoot this guy right now.
I did not think she was going to shoot Frank Sr.
yeah.
I
that
kind
was-
of
I
did.
think-
I was like,
when you come in there stomping like a fucking asshole like Frank was, knowing that she shot your son's dick off. If she goes into the other room to go grab something, maybe fucking be ready to
yeah.
accept a fucking shotgun to the gut. You know?
Certain people, man, they think they're invincible. They think they're untouchable, especially somebody in that sort of position. Is
That's
there a
fair.
Kansas City mob? Is there a mob in every like major metropolitan area? Is there a Seattle mob?
It could be.
Daryl runs the Casey mob.
Is there a Portland mob that's just like super hipsters who never shower?
Might be.
Oh,
Fucking
they're coming.
IPAs.
Here they come. It's just terrible stench of green smog in the air.
Just torturing dudes with super bitter IPAs. Yeah, you're gonna fucking drink this whole thing, pussy.
It's your initiation. You just have to drink the quadruple IPA, the most bitter thing ever. You remember those little commercials that had bitter beer face?
Yeah,
That's what that would be.
This was made in my bathtub because that's how they used to make it.
Who else got murdered this season?
Wyatt, which I called. I was
Thank
surprised
God.
by that.
He is the most insufferable fucking character. He got baby trapped by a baby that wasn't even his or hers.
I was just
Yeah,
really
he seems
surprised
so-
because I thought that he was going to be the factor that really threw Darlene off the edge. Like he was going to get killed and Darlene was going to go on a small little killing spree before getting her head blown off. I was kind of surprised that they were executed like that, just one after another, because I thought Wyatt was going to be that driving force to really see Darlene go ape shit on people.
Didn't you also predict Jonah was going to die though?
I
Right.
still kind of I feel like there has to be somebody in that family that dies. We know it's not going to be Wendy because she's too shitty of a person. They don't usually do that in shows.
I think it might
Besides
be
Darlene,
it might be the daughter, because the daughter's finally kind of with the bird.
She's like
so that would
happy.
kinda hurt
All you got to
more.
do is
That would
find the
hurt
character
more.
who's the happiest.
Right.
And
don't-
that one's going to die.
it's fucked up to say. I don't think she played too much. Her role in this season wasn't that great to where people are going to care as much if it was like Jonah that was killed,
Mhm.
because she really didn't have that big of a role in this.
I'm
She
not
kinda was in the
not
background.
a huge fan. I mean, she's fine. It's just I don't care.
Yeah, and I think they need someone that people really care about, and I think it is Jonah, because Jonah, I would say, is the most likable thus far. I
I don't think so.
I'm on team.
I did not like Jonah at all. I thought he was a piece of shit kid.
You're the outlier
very
here though, because both
frustrated
Mark
with
and I
that kid.
did.
I think you're the outlier by far, Brick.
Even Marty is like rooting for his kid.
He's just not rooting against this kid like Wendy is.
He actively helped him.
Well, that's because he doesn't want his son to go to prison.
Yeah,
That's
because
like
he's not a
just
psycho
being
like
dad.
Wendy. Or,
Exactly.
Wendy. Yeah, Wendy. I almost called her Skylar.
Yeah, she basically is Skylar 2.0 because how insane. She was trying to control Jonah so much that she personally flagged some of his old accounts, which I don't know how she figured that out, how to do it. She doesn't seem like she has that kind of technical savvy ability. But that was just so that whole butting heads the whole time was crazy.
Did you guys pick up on the flash forward that we had in the first episode of the season? I will say I did go back to I went back to the first episode because of what they were wearing in the last episode of this season.
Oh, Mark doing the sleuth work.
Woo.
Well, the outfits they were wearing were not the outfits they were wearing when they were driving in that van. And also Jonah's he wasn't as angry. So I think what they're going to do is that flash forward is actually going to be the end or towards the end of this upcoming part 2.
All right. No. Well, we got to predict. We got to predict what's going to happen. Obviously,
I think. Well, we know they get in that car accident. That was the first episode of this season. But is that like the second to last episode of the season where they come crawling out of the car and then some really intense shit happens?
I think
one of them gets like.
I think that's the beginning of the final episode.
I think the more direct question that you're trying to ask is that a misdirect? Are they trying to make us think that they all die there? And like, what happens? Do they want us to think that that's what happens at the very end? And I think the answer to that is no.
I agree, and I don't think that wasn't my take either, guys, because I figured they were going to come back to it eventually. But that one's tough. That freaking van rolled a ton. Like, that was a massive car crash. It was a semi coming head on. So there's going to be some sort of injuries, or someone's going to have some sort of brain injury with that. I don't know. It doesn't. Not everyone can get out of that one scot free.
I don't know why, but I really enjoyed watching Javi beat the shit out of Marty Bird.
I love Javi, dude.
Weird.
Great guy.
Do we have anything else to say about this before we wrap up?
No, I really liked it.
Your team, everybody survives season. At the end, right, Mark?
Hell no.
You think one of the birds is going to die?
It's going to be Jonah.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think everybody survives. Everybody survives.
I'm going to guess they kill Marty and Wendy.
Ooh.
I don't know what happens from there.
Hey, this is our tiebreaker.
I think Wendy.
Whoever.
No, because what if it's something that none of us predicted?
Then
it's another tie.
We'll
figure something out for the tiebreaker.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So I'm going to take this spoiler thing down, and we can do our little outro.